Hello and welcome back to the Product Biz podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. So excited to share some updates with you and just excited to be recording behind the mic again. So let me tell you a little bit about what's been up since the last time I recorded a solo episode. I hosted my free training on how to create a thriving product business without relying on markets, had over 3,000 people register, had a pop-up Facebook group where we had over 800 small business owners inside this Facebook group for about a period of 2 weeks, had, I want to say 425 people live on the training. And I know so many people watched the replay that couldn't make it live. And it was just an absolutely incredible, so much fun moment for me. Now, I've done this training before, but I updated so much of the content within the actual training. Every time I do this training, I'm like reading the chat to see what people get, what do they not get, what can I elaborate on more. I'm very actively monitoring my actual members in my program. What are they struggling with? What concepts, what frameworks would help to understand the overall picture of a business that I can bring to so many more people? And I'm always just adjusting and learning and checking and creating this, just in my opinion, incredible experience for those who do attend, who do participate, who are there, open to learning, open to running a business a different way, open to a different perspective. And the feedback was incredible. Now, when I say that this is a transformational training, the first thing I want to tell you is that we were literally on this training, I'm not kidding, for 3.5 hours. I was like, okay, this training is probably going to be like 2 to 3 hours. I have a lot of content to share. 3.5 hours. That's insane. I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even halfway through the deck, and I looked at my phone briefly and we were already 2 hours in. And I was like, holy shit, I have to speed things up a little bit and talk a little faster. But there was just so much incredible content. There was so much great conversation in the chat. We actually did some true exercises live on the call. So that's how this training was different than my previous ones that I've done. I updated the content. I actually changed the 5 steps to creating consistent sales. I changed it from the last time I did this training, and I brought in some live exercises. So it wasn't just me speaking and me talking and me teaching. It was actually people writing down answers, and it was very interactive. I created a PDF dashboard that was like 10 or so pages, maybe 11 or 12 pages, where people were filling it in while we were going through. I was stopping and asking questions. We did a couple exercises so people could really understand their business and what was required of them to see the next result in their business. And it was honestly so much fun. So much fun. And this was the first time I did a pop-up Facebook group. So over 800 small business owners in this Facebook group. And this part to me was probably the most fun because I really got to feel like I knew people and I was asking a ton of questions like, what are you really struggling with? What keeps you up at night? And hearing feedback from people allowed me to change my presentation, allowed me to really understand, where are you guys at currently? Like, what are people struggling with in 2024? And how can I serve these people and give them information to make that next step in their business? Now, I want to share with you some of the incredible things that happened during the 2 week time together. It was like 2.5 weeks together. There were people who went to the live training, listened in, participated in the exercises, and ended up completely rebranding their business and are coming out with a new brand name, a new way to promote their products. And this was so exciting for me to see because like I know that a light bulb went off in that person's head saying, okay, how I'm promoting my jewelry right now isn't working. This brand name isn't working. Let me adjust to something based on what I learned in this training that will resonate, that will speak to my audience. I also had other people who completely changed the niche of their jewelry. There was someone who, and the person who's hopefully listening will know that I'm talking about them, was doing gemstone jewelry. And from our time together, had the courage to go after their dream of actually creating nostalgic jewelry and change their Instagram bio and posted that there's going to be a change in the type of products they're going to be sharing and creating. And to me, that is just absolutely amazing that this training could inspire someone to go after that like dream that they have, that little insight in their brain, and actually bring it to life. I also had people who said they posted on Instagram for the very first time after this training because they were so motivated, they were so excited, and they took the plunge and posted for the first time. So a lot of clarity for maybe business owners who are in the newer stage, but so much clarity also for business owners in the established or existing phase in terms of understanding where they have to sell their products, where they need to put more time and attention, and maybe even how they look at different platforms and totally shifting that perspective and realizing, yeah, this is part of business and this is the name of the game. And I have to really learn how to master this platform and become an expert here to take my business to the next level. Because what I shared during this training was the 5 steps to consistent sales, online sales, because we all know that consistent market sales are pretty easy. You just take your tent, you put your tent up, and the people come, right? I mean, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of sweat equity in terms of like dragging a tent when it's 99 degrees out. It's pretty freaking hot, and being there all day can be in the summer can be pretty freaking draining. But in terms of generating sales and the work to generate sales, there's not really much done. There's no like marketing, there's no branding, there's no like caption writing, there's no website development, there's no target audience. There's really none of what a business needs to know when you think about markets. It's just apply, show up, put your tent up, sweat equity, make some money. That's why people who are great at markets, they don't understand business, can really, really struggle online, like really struggle. But these 5 steps to consistent online sales that I shared work no matter if you are a new business owner, because if you're new, you're going to need to know them off the bat. Like these are non-negotiable 5 steps to grow your business, to create online sales. It's 100% better to know it up front and get started on the right foot than like try to create a business, throw spaghetti at the wall, and then have to fix everything or scrap everything or relearn so much or realize you're in the completely wrong direction. Imagine if you're going from Chicago to LA and you realize that you've been doing it all on your own and you're actually heading down to Florida because you didn't realize you were going in the complete wrong direction on how to build an actual e-commerce online business that generates consistent sales. Now, on the flip side, there are also the more established business owners who these 5 steps are still 100% applicable, because if you are not generating consistent online sales, 1 or 2, or maybe even 3 of these steps have a gap. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that you're good at, but until you have all 5 of these steps mastered, you will not have consistent online sales. So it was so much fun, so amazing. In addition to supporting so many small business owners in the Facebook group and the live training, I did Facebook Lives to answer questions. We also gave away $5,800 worth of prizes for people who attended, participated. And when I mean prizes, I'm saying a free Rollo printer to print your online shipping labels. If you don't have a Rollo printer, like this makes shipping packages 10x easier. A free holiday photo shoot of your products, a $100 Amazon gift card, 3 influential books, my most favorite books that I reread every single year. I also gave away $100 worth of Product Biz Academy member products, including a headband from Maddie and Me, mermaid texturizing spray from No Poo Products, bath bombs from Moda Magic, soap from Little Buddha by Daisy, and body oil from Cleansed. And there were other prizes too. A free journal. I created a journal last year, the Grounded, Grateful, and Growing Mindset Journal and Planner. Gave one of those away for free. And the grand prize was a full scholarship into Product Biz Academy, plus a one-on-one kickoff call with me, which at this moment in time, I am not accepting one-on-one clients. So this is the last person of 2024 and for the foreseeable future in terms of a new one-on-one client that I will be meeting with to really deep dive into their business. And it was so much fun giving away all of these incredible prizes. It was a blast. It was so much fun. And I'm just so grateful to have had that time to share this knowledge. And whenever I do this live training, I do at the end open the doors to Product Biz Academy. We had 21 incredible, committed, dedicated, talented, amazing small business owners that decided to take a bet on themselves and join Product Biz Academy. And I'm so excited because our kickoff call is this Wednesday. We have so much amazing stuff to get into and so much amazing business growth and progress and bringing them into the community and getting to see them at the in-person event that's happening in early 2025, giving them all the knowledge to grow their business, supporting them to grow their business. You guys, this is just what totally, totally, totally lights me up. And this live training and mini Product Biz Academy launch was the funnest one I have done yet. And it just really, really was a good time. So I'm so glad for the people that had a good time. I'm going to say one more thing about this training and then we'll get to today's episode. But this training and this pop-up Facebook group and the support that I gave to people and the transformations that they had was so good that I literally had people messaging me after I closed the pop-up Facebook group, because it was a pop-up Facebook group, meaning we're popping up for a short amount of time. I had people messaging me afterwards saying how mad they are that I closed the Facebook group down and how dare I close it, and it was such a good resource and I should do it all the time, and all of these comments. And I had to tell those people that this is one container that was super sacred, that I put so much time and energy into, and this container has to close in order for me to support the people who said yes to Product Biz Academy. And it's a boundary that I have, and it's also a way that I run my business. And I think that just shows that how transformational this experience was, that when the experience ends, I had so many people that were grateful and also a couple people that were mad that it was ending. And of course, I tell those people, like, join us in Product Biz Academy, because if you had fun in the live training, if you have fun in my free resources, PBA will knock your socks off. 100%. And if you thought that was amazing, wait till you join us in the Product Biz Academy world, in the Product Biz Academy family, because if the free content is that good, the actual content is going to be a lot better. I had someone also ask me, it was so funny, a few weeks ago, someone asked me, how is your podcast different than Product Biz Academy? Can I just listen to all your episodes? And it was so funny, that question totally caught me off guard, because I'm of the complete opposite mentality. If I love someone's podcast, all I can think about is, when can I work with this person? How do I get into their program? If their podcast is good, how do I get into their atmosphere and be part of their program, be part of their environment, be part of their day-to-day? How do I have a direct line to them that I can ask them questions, that I can see them on a Zoom call, that I can pick their brain and ask any question that I have? And that's truly the answer to that question. If you think the free content is good, you should be in Product Biz Academy to get even more know-how, to get even more guidance, to get even more support, to get even more community, and to get the actual steps. Because a lot of what I share on the podcast is, especially the direction of where I want to take this podcast, is more of conceptually what matters, but the physical steps. I'm like, cool, I heard on the podcast that Monica said Etsy is really important, and some of her members are having $20,000 in sales on Etsy. Now, you can go put your products on Etsy because you heard that on the podcast, but the chances of you having success on Etsy without actually knowing the strategy of Etsy, the marketing of Etsy, the customers of Etsy, what they need to know, what they need to see, how to appear in the search results, the algorithm, the photos, the caption, the tactics, the shipping policies, without knowing all of that, which is actually in my program, you're going to create an Etsy shop and it's going to have crickets. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's what happens to a lot of people. And then they say, oh, Etsy doesn't work. This doesn't work. Etsy sucks. They take a lot of fees. We create all these meanings in these stories when really the answer or the meaning or story that you should have is, shit, how do I actually learn how to optimize this? And where can I get the steps to optimize this? So that's a little bit of a difference between the podcast, my free training, and my actual program. You're going to get step-by-step worksheets, tactical. Do this, don't do this. People love Product Biz Academy, especially if they are teachers in another life, because I swear I was a teacher in a past life. It is so easy to follow, so easy to digest, so easy to implement, and gives you the actual tactics that lead to results. Okay? A little bit of a tangent. And all in all, to say thank you guys for those who participated in the live training and who are maybe new listeners to the Product Biz podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course, if you've been here for a while, I am so grateful and appreciative for you. I know there were some people on the live training who had been multiple times. There were my Product Biz Academy members who were on the live training, and it was so fun because I didn't even know some of them were on the training until the end. When I saw them in the comments saying, join Product Biz Academy, it's the best decision ever. So that was fun. But even my Product Biz Academy members come to this training as like a refresh, a remotivator. And then, of course, they have the coaching and the Facebook group and the content to help them execute. So, new people, welcome. Existing people, thank you for being here. So appreciative of all of you. And I want to talk today a little bit about how to shift so much in your life and in your business. Now, this is going to be maybe a little bit of a different episode, but this is something that I've realized that I do in every single component of my life and every single component of my business. And I have realized that so many other people don't. And sometimes to me, things are like a no-brainer, like, yeah, I do this all the time, that I don't think to bring it to the podcast until I'm smacked in the face with like example and example and example and example of other people who don't do this. And then I'm like, oh, this will actually be pretty valuable. Maybe this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's those things that are like second nature to us that we don't think other people need support with. So we'll see. I mean, let me know if this resonates with you or if you're like, yeah, Monica, I already knew that. Continue on. I'm going to start with a little bit of a story here to set the stage. Now, one thing that I love to do, and I feel like any successful entrepreneur or business owner has to love this, is personal development. And when I think of personal development, what I think of is being extremely inquisitive of who you are, what triggers you, why you do the things you do, and how to change what's not serving you. And also to understand like why am I built the way that I'm built? What happened in my childhood that led me to react in this way? Or why is this triggering me? What is this telling me? What is the underlying lesson I need to learn? And if you're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm always asking questions. Always. Always, 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 always. I am the most inquisitive person probably that I know. My husband calls me the question master. I don't know if you guys in high school, we used to play this drinking game. I think it was called Waterfall. And I don't even know how this game works anymore. I haven't had an alcoholic drink in like 9 months as of where we are today. But back in high school, you used to play this game called Waterfall. It was a card game and a beer drinking game. And if someone got the queen card, they were called the question master. And they could only ask questions from that point on. And the rest of the people playing had to make sure not to answer their question. If you did, that person would have to drink. So you like try to be sneaky and ask people questions like, oh, what kind of beer are you drinking? And then they tell you, and it's like, oh, drink, question master. I'm the question master. You just answered my question, right? So I don't remember much of that game, but for some reason I remember that. And my husband always calls me the question master because I'm always asking questions. I am so inquisitive. I love understanding why in terms of personal development. Why do I do the things that I do? I love understanding why in terms of business. Like, why does this work? And why doesn't this work? I love asking why. Oh my God, the last year and a half, I've gone down this massive religion, spiritual, Egypt, Atlantis. Oh my gosh, this opens a whole rabbit hole of like, where did we come from? And I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole other topic, but being super, super, super inquisitive of what came before us. And what I realize is asking questions is a skill that a lot of people really don't have. And what goes hand in hand with asking questions is knowing where you want to go so then you can ask the right questions. And these are the two concepts that are going to completely change how you run your business, how you run your life. And they are as simple as that. Number one, knowing where you want to go. And number two, asking kick-ass questions on how to actually get there. We're going to talk about the subconscious mind. We're going to talk about the power of the subconscious mind when you ask good questions. But let me go back to number one, knowing where you want to go. This vision of where you want to go has to be something that you have defined, like so freaking crystal clear defined. When I had this pop-up Facebook group open, I love to ask people questions. Here comes the question master, right? When someone would join the group, I would ask them and they would tell about their business, what they're working on. I would say, and where they're struggling, right? And I would say, thank you for sharing that with me. Totally understand your struggles. What do you want your business to look like? And I can confidently say that I probably asked that question maybe 100 times because I want to know, like, where do these people want to go? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? Where do you want to take your business? Is it just a craft? You want to make maybe 1,000 a year, or are you looking to make like a fucking $1 million, right? And just for me to understand what are people's aspirations and goals. And I'm not kidding you that I will say 99% of the time that I asked that question, I heard crickets back. Because most people do not know where they want to go. Most people have not paused, intentionally paused to be like, why am I doing all this work? And what's my end goal? And what is all this for? Now, I'm going to give you an analogy, which is going to paint the picture. If you say, I want to go on a road trip and you don't have a final destination of where you want to go to, you are going to get into your car, you're going to do a hell of a lot of driving, but you're going to end up nowhere because you don't know where you're going. Do you turn right or left? It doesn't matter. You don't have a destination, right? And you're going to go in circles and you're going to make all sorts of turns and you're going to be really busy and you're going to be in that car for years. But if you don't have an end destination of where you want to go, you're just going to be driving aimlessly. And so many people are running their business aimlessly. Now, the other example of this analogy is I'm going to take this example of when I moved. I lived in Chicago. We packed up our U-Haul and we were going to Arizona, my husband and I. We had this end destination of Arizona. We knew exactly how to get there via GPS. We plugged it in. We knew which left turn to take, which right turn to take, which highway to take. We knew how many hours it would take to get there, roughly. Obviously, unexpected things come up. But we started to know the path to get there, and we created a path to get there that would serve us. Meaning, okay, cool, this is a 36-hour drive. We're not going to drive for 36 hours straight. So let's pause after 12 hours. Let's stay in this area. Let me find a hotel. Let me make sure they have U-Haul parking. Cool. Next day, let's drive 10 hours because if we do another 12, we're going to be in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of hotels. So let's do 10 hours this day. And then the final day, let's wake up really early and do the remaining amount, whatever it is. You can see that I have an end destination and I can start to create a path that serves me to get to that end destination. Now, like I said, inevitable things will come up. Maybe there's traffic, maybe there's a flat tire, maybe the hotel loses a reservation, whatever. Shit's gonna happen. Welcome to life, welcome to Earth, okay? But when I have a plan, I can know I'm progressing. I know what to work on. I know if I'm on track. I know if I'm heading in the right direction. I know if I'm heading in the wrong direction. Is this making sense? Because if you can grasp this, this is going to change so much for you. So what I want you to do is pause and ask yourself, what do you want your business to look like? That end result. And I'm thinking maybe 5 years out, 10 years out. And maybe you also create a 1 year out vision. And maybe you also create a vision for this holiday season. And now you have that plan, that end destination of Arizona, that you can start to backtrack how to actually create the steps to get there, right? Couple things that are going to come up for people. Sometimes people don't do this exercise or don't like to do this exercise because if they really think how they want their business to be in 5 years or in 1 year, maybe their deep desire is like a really, really, really big business. And it's a lot different than what they're currently experiencing. So people don't want to set goals of this end destination of where they want to go because then if they don't reach that goal, they start to feel really bad. People will not goal set because they don't want to deal with the realizations of what if I don't reach this goal? And if you don't have an end destination because you don't want to experience those feelings, you will never get anywhere. You're going to be driving without a destination in circles aimlessly for hours and days and years, never getting anywhere. So if you are someone who struggles to create big goals for yourself because you will feel bad or let down or unworthy or sad if you don't reach them, you have to ask yourself, what is the meaning that you are creating about not reaching a goal? What's the story? And I've told my Product Biz Academy members this. With my Product Biz Academy launches and the current business that I'm running, I've had a big goal every single time I open doors for enrollment for the past 2 years, and I haven't hit it yet. And it's okay because I know it doesn't mean anything about me. Now I can have this massive goal and I can not hit it and I can feel unworthy and tell myself I'm a failure and then I'm not ever going to amount to anything and I should just give up and this isn't in the cards for me and why am I wasting all this time and this is just a stupid dream. Cool. I could tell myself that and it's going to serve no one, right? Or I could say I have this big goal. If it doesn't happen now, it'll happen eventually. It's going to happen down the line. And I'm a big believer that if the desire is there, if a dream is there, then it's literally because you are meant to experience that. You are meant to reach that goal. Now, is it going to be tomorrow? Probably not, if it's a big, really scary goal. Is it going to be in 6 months? Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to be in 1 year? Maybe it's a little bit more likely. Is it going to happen in 5 years? Okay, cool. Maybe this is actually going to happen in that amount of time. And knowing that the desire, if you have the desire, that means it's in your destiny. If it wasn't in your destiny, you would not be able to think in this way. I'm going to tell you something that massively hit me. I was telling my husband yesterday, this is about my mom. I am someone who has these big dreams, these big desires. I know that if I set a goal, I'll reach it inevitably. I know that my desires are my destiny. I fully believe in these things. And I live in that way every single day. And I was on the phone with my mom yesterday, and I realized that my mom has such a, and I mean this in the most loving way possible, has such a small scope of what's possible for her that my mom has such a limited scope of what's truly possible for her that she would never think as big as I do. And when I look at that from your desire is your destiny, it's a really heartbreaking realization that the life that I want to live is probably something that my mom would never be able to achieve in her life. She doesn't even have the desire for it. She doesn't even think it's attainable. And it's not even that she says, like, oh my God, I'll never be a millionaire. It's like, or I'll never be financially stable. It's just that she doesn't even like know that that exists. And my parents, if you guys know, immigrated from Poland. English is their second language. My dad worked the night shift at car manufacturers in Detroit his entire life. He just retired, was an hourly worker his whole life. My mom used to clean houses. And they've struggled a lot. We did not have a lot of money as kids. Growing up as a family, my parents really freaking struggled. And when I say your desire is your destiny, I'm only sharing this to paint the picture that if you have a desire, it's literally because you are meant to achieve it at some point in your life. Otherwise, it would be like someone like my mom who doesn't even have the capacity to think that big, to think that change is possible, to think that things can be different, to think that her life can be abundant, to think that things can be better. And unfortunately, my mom's destiny is going to be what it is going to be, right? And of course, my goals and dreams are to break that generational pattern of poverty and not having a lot of money and to be able to support my mom and help her. However, I don't know if she will be able to ever do that on her own. She doesn't have the desire. She doesn't even realize it's possible. While someone like you or someone like me who's listening to these podcasts, how to grow a business, learning, dedicated, committed, if you have a desire to have a six-figure per year business, it is in your destiny. And having trust in that, trust is my favorite word because so many people lack trust. And you either can have yourself fully in fear or fully in faith. You cannot have one foot in one and one foot in the other. So if you aren't fully trusting, if you aren't fully in faith, you are living in fear. And part of having these big, scary goals is trusting that it's going to happen. Now, how is it going to happen is something that's going to unwind as you learn the lessons required to get there, as you become the person you need to be that's required to get there. And when you have really, really, really big goals, expect to go through more hurdles than most people. If you want to have a six-figure per year business, expect to have struggles with employees. Expect to hire and to fire and to have people come on board that maybe aren't the right fit and have to go back and do the process again. Of course, you are going to have those problems, and maybe someone who only wants a $5,000 per year business is never going to have that problem. But you facing that quote unquote problem is necessary for you to build the building blocks to that six-figure per year business. You cannot make a sustainable six-figure per year business without an employee. You can do it unsustainably and burn yourself out and ruin your relationships with your family, your husband, and your kids, and ruin your health. Cool. If you want that, doors open for you. But you could not create a sustainable, profitable, small business that allows you to enjoy life build healthy relationships with yourself and your family and your spouse and your kids without employees. So as soon as you have this end goal of, I want to have a 6-figure per year business, you are going to be given these stepping stones to get there via challenges and quote unquote problems and triggers and shit going wrong. Welcome to what you signed up for, right? It's all about becoming who you need to be. You need to be a good people manager. You need to know communication. And I'm just picking on the hiring example because I'm currently growing and expanding my own team. So knowing where you want to go is key because it's going to give you that end destination so you know what route to take. It's also going to bring forth the challenges and problems that you need to overcome to get there. And to wrap up the conversation, there's 2 more things I want to say about this. I'm going to go back to the meaning that you're making about it. And knowing that if you don't reach your goal, it means nothing. Absolutely nothing. It just means try again tomorrow, and try again the next day, and try again the day after that. And if you truly believe that your desire is your destiny, then you know your success is inevitable and it will happen no matter what. It's just a matter of continuing to grow and continuing to have these challenges and continuing to learn how to be the person who can handle the energy of this big business that you want, and getting the supports, getting the knowledge, working on the skills, the actions, the behaviors, the thoughts to get there. So don't let yourself pull you down from dreaming big. Like, dream as big as you want. I know you can always change your dream. You can always edit your dream. My dream for a big time was to grow plant-based beauty, to have a massive warehouse, a massive team, to be in Whole Foods. That was my dream at that moment. And then obviously I closed plant-based beauty to fully focus on coaching. So my dream has totally changed. Does it mean I failed? No, not at all. Everything that has led me to here has been in perfect place at the perfect time, even if I couldn't see it at that moment. So have an end goal, have a scary end goal, have something that literally makes you uncomfortable because it's that big, and start to question, why are there triggers that are showing up about this goal? Okay, cool. Second to last thing I want to say about this step before I go to the step 2 about asking questions. The subconscious mind, and this is going to correlate to the number 2 as well. The subconscious mind, you guys, this is insane. I've been learning about the brain, and I knew this stat that the subconscious mind is 95% of our brain, while our conscious mind is 5%. So the conscious mind is what you are paying attention to. You're listening to this podcast, you're absorbing the knowledge, you're looking at your phone, you're browsing Instagram, you're working on your business, you're consciously aware of the things that you are doing. That is 5% of your brain. Now we have 95% of our brain that is basically running in the background that we do not have conscious awareness of. Your brain is a freaking supercomputer. There's a statistic that I read that said in 30 seconds, your brain processes more data than the Hubble Space Telescope has processed in its lifetime. Isn't that crazy? That's insane. So your subconscious mind, the 95% of your brain, the supercomputer, is taking in so much data right now that you don't even know. You don't even know. It's taking in every single light, angle, component. It's creating inferences. It's making life possible. It's doing so much work that we are not aware of. Now, when you start to define where you want to go, you are planting that idea in your subconscious. Now, your subconscious, without you even knowing it, is constantly scanning the environment for what will help you to reach that goal. And it's working in the background. You're not going to be consciously aware of it. But all of a sudden, when you have this end goal of where you want to go, your subconscious brain is going to be scanning. Ooh, maybe I should reach out to that person. Implants the idea into your conscious brain. Ooh, maybe I should actually post today instead of putting it to the side. Implants that idea to your conscious brain for you to then take action on. It's constantly scanning and going through all of this data to set you up to be able to reach that goal. And that's why it's so important to have an end goal. So your subconscious mind is actually on board to help you find ways to get there. Because if you're only using your 5% conscious brain, it is going to be so hard to build a business. And it's going to lead to extreme burnout. It's going to lead to extreme brain fatigue, like your head hurting from trying to do so much and from multitasking and jumping from thing to thing. When you can align your subconscious and your conscious and get them to work towards the same end goal, holy shit, you guys, this is when you become a master creator, a master manifester, a master at business, or whatever that goal is. Now, there is some more complexity that comes into this, meaning your subconscious beliefs have to be on board too. Now, that's another topic for another day, but trust me when I say that having that end goal is going to help you to start getting your subconscious brain on board to help you make progress towards that. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Because if that makes sense, your jaw should be like to the ground. Because so many people are just working from their conscious brain. And this is a big learning lesson I had this year of not just working from my 5% conscious, but working from the totality of 100% of my brain. And I can say exponentially, that is why my business has grown. And that's why I bring a lot of these like mindset things to my actual PBA members, exercises that we do, because I know how impactful this is. Okay. So I said there were two things to change your life, change your business drastically. Number one is knowing that end destination of where you want to go. And number two is asking freaking questions. I want you to become the question master. Seriously. So many times what I see people doing is instead of asking a question, they make a statement. Oh, I can't get results on Etsy. Oh, I can't do that because I also have kids. I can't do that because I'm the only person making my products and I have no support. I can't post on Instagram because I'm just not good at technology. I can't do this. People make these statements and it closes your subconscious from looking for answers. Your subconscious is like, all right, you're right. You can't do that with kids. You're right, I believe you. Every time you hit a roadblock, what I want you to do is ask a question instead. So instead of saying, I can't see success on Etsy, why don't you ask yourself, how can I see success on Etsy? Ooh, way different energy right there, right? I can't do this because I have my kids at home with me today. Why don't you switch that to, how can I do this while I have my kids at home today? I can't do that because I have so many responsibilities. How can I juggle both my responsibilities and my business and be successful at both? When you start to ask questions, you get answers. You open yourself up to answers. And there's a beautiful quote that my coach says, which is the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions that you ask. So if you're not even asking questions, your quality of life is going to be exactly as you state it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't be successful. I have too many responsibilities. I have this. I have that. You are writing your own story with a period at the end and you're closing the book and it's done. But if you can shift to just asking really good questions, And I don't even need you to get the answers to those questions. I just need you to start thinking of asking questions so you're not closing that book. And so here's the kicker. The 95% of your subconscious can start looking for answers for you. Yeah. Use your full brain. Put your subconscious to work, that crazy processor. So now instead of saying, I can't do that because I have kids, instead you say, how can I do this while I have kids? Your brain is going to start scanning as you go through your day. Maybe all of a sudden you have an insight. Ooh, why don't I ask so-and-so if she can watch my kids for a couple hours so I can do this really quick? Or, ooh, why don't I work here where there's a daycare? Or, ooh, why don't I get some sort of schedule with like my parents or in-laws? Or, ooh, why don't I just hire someone to do this for me so I can spend time with my kids? All of a sudden, your brain is going to give you answers to those questions. But if you don't ask the question in the first place, you're never going to get an answer and you're going to stay stuck in the same spot that you have been. When I go back to what I was telling you guys about being the question master and how my husband jokes about that, I journal every single day, every single day. Probably have been doing this for the last 5 years, if not longer. Whenever I have a problem, I journal a question. And like I said, this is so automatic for me that I'm like, I don't know if people are going to think this is groundbreaking or they're going to think I'm a lunatic because it's so simple. But if you don't implement this, then you better try it. Whenever I journal about like the things that aren't optimal in my business or I'm struggling with or could be better or just whatever is going on. But I journal like, how can I make this better? What lesson am I learning? Who can support me to get an answer here? And then I'll just journal. And can you imagine how much relief I get when I start to actually journal and answer my own questions? Now, the more you get in tune with your subconscious, the easier this becomes. I've gotten to a point that I can journal a question and literally journal the answer. The answer isn't consciously in my brain. It's literally that 95% subconscious that comes out and is answering while I write. And I've done a lot of work in the last year, 2 years, 3 years on strengthening my subconscious, strengthening my intuition, strengthening that part of my brain. So it's a process to get there. However, there are going to be some really easy things. And I'm sure if you just take your I can't statement or I'm struggling with this statement, flip it into a question, then you will start to get answers. 100%. It may not be instant. It may be when you're sleeping. It may be the following day. It may be a week later. But you're putting that 95% of your brain to work to help find an answer for you. Isn't that insane? Isn't that like so exciting? I get so jazzed. I've been doing a lot of reading about the brain, and this was just mind-blowing to me to see what is truly possible. The other thing that surprises me here too, I'll go back to the pop-up Facebook group. I would ask people like, what questions do you have about business? What's keeping you up at night? And so many people would just say, how do I create consistent online sales? How do I create consistent sales? How do I create consistent sales? Some people wouldn't even know what question to ask, right? The same people who don't have that end desire, if I were to ask them, okay, what questions do you have about business? They'd probably come to a blank, like, oh, I don't know. I've even had some of my one-on-one clients where I'll be like, okay, what questions do you have? And it's like total silence. The quality of your life is dependent on the quality of questions that you ask. Start asking questions. Start looking at the world from an inquisitive eye that you want to understand everything and everything. If I went to a free training and it was like, what questions do you have about business? I would be like, hey, look, Here's what I've been focusing on. I've been sending emails. I'm not sure if they're resonating. Here's the data. I'm seeing this open rate, this click rate. Would you do anything different? Can I share an example of my email? What is really like not standing out for you? Or what do you think would change? Or should my overall email strategy change? I'm sending emails at this frequency. I have this big of a list. Like, that's a great freaking question. Versus, how do I make more money? How do I make more sales? It's a starting point. It's a question, better than no questions. But get specific with your questions. And as homework, I'd love for you to do these two things. Number one, write down a crystal clear vision of where you want to go. What amount of sales you want to have in your business? How do you want your business to look? If there was no story or meanings or judgment behind if you do or don't get it, what would that business look like with your fullest expression? Number two, what are 5 high quality questions of what you're struggling with right now, of what you're working on, of where you need support, of what's not working, where you're just hitting your head against the wall, and see what happens next. Because you're going to start to get answers. You're going to start to cross paths with people who can support you. You're going to start to see possibility. You're going to start to put yourself in environments where you can get answers to those questions. And that's how your business grows. That's it. So I encourage you to become the question master, to put that question master hat on, and figuratively maybe drink water every time you don't ask a question. I don't know. Find a way to flip that, right? In a way that's also healthy for you because drinking water is good for you. But just get inquisitive, ask questions, get curious about life. And I'm excited to see what this opens up for you. So here's the deal. I would love for you to DM me, tag me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram if you're not. Monica Little Coaching is my Instagram. Share what you learned from this episode. Send me the answers to your homework. And also, I would appreciate it so much if you could leave a review for the podcast. I had a couple people after the training send me really nice messages about how they've been lifelong listeners to the podcast as long as it's been around. And if that is you, if you've been listening for a while, or if you're brand new, if you liked this episode, please, 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 please leave a review. It helps me get in front of more people, and my passion and purpose and point of being on this planet is to help shift perspectives of business owners for them to see what is possible and for them to be able to live their dream life. And if you can support that mission by leaving a review so this podcast is shared with more people, I would be forever grateful. So, so grateful. And thank you so much in advance. So that's all I got for you today. I can't wait to see you next week on the Product Biz Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. So grateful that you are here, and I will talk to you soon.